Alright, so I appreciate that we're second to last talk of day 4, so probably many people in this room were feeling a little bit like this. But never fear, I'm here to entertain you for about 10 minutes. Okay, real title slide. Right, so, good evening. My name is Adam Stevens. I'm from Swinburne University of Technology. And I'm going to be talking to you about semi-analytic models today. So, is anyone in the room who doesn't know what a semi-analytic model is? Here's the 20-second pitch. Take an in-body cosmological simulation, find out your halos, so you can see them in the background of this one, for example, track them back through time, record their mass, size, spin, and feed that into a model of galaxy evolution. Why do you want to do this? Why is this useful? We started off this conference talking about how it would be nice if we could describe aspects of galaxy evolution in terms of, simple analytic expressions that we understand, we write them down, and that we can talk about to one another. But if you want to do that sort of thing in a consistent cosmological context, where you're thinking about hierarchical growth structure, you're inevitably just going to end up coming up with a semi-analytic model. So semi-analytic models typically think about galaxies as being, think about evolving galaxies in terms of their global processes, so you have a series of singular numbers which describe different baryonic reservoirs within your halos. And they're also typically constrained by the global properties of galaxies as well. So the plots I'm showing you here are from the recent SAGE paper, which I've been really involved in. So we use things like stellar mass function and scaling relations, which we've heard a lot about in this talk, to fix the few free parameters that we have in our models. Now, just briefly as a plug before I actually get into real science, this is a publicly available code, and I'd encourage anyone who wants to start playing around with semi-analytic models to go to GitHub, download it, and do whatever you want with it. You can start messing around with it if you want. Just so long as you cite us, you can basically do whatever you want. But if you're the kind of person who's scared of actually playing with code and just want mock catalogs, please go onto the Theoretical Astrophysical Observatory as well. So both URLs are up there. Okay, so if we had a continuum of global to local, we've got classical semi-analytic models down one end, we've got hydrodynamic simulations far closer to the local end, but still not perfectly close to this end, right? Because they're essentially semi-analytic models at the level of the particle as opposed to the level of the halo. So several orders of magnitude, better, but in principle. Now, the reason why semi-analytic models have been allowed, if you like, to be so far on the right wing, and I feel like I missed an opportunity to come up with a political reference here, and this is probably stolen the show already, but anyway, the reason why it's been allowed to be so far on the right here is because they've usually been used to compare against observational surveys. When these things became popular 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have all these lovely things like Sandy Khalifa and Manga, right? All we had was surveys that told us about the integrated properties of galaxies. But now that we're in this era, I think there needs to be a slight shift in paradigm of semi-analytic model where we become a little bit more centrist, if you like, and start thinking about evolving galaxies locally within these things. Now, if we're going to go ahead and do that, we need to think about what the framework is, what the independent variables, if you like, are that we're going to describe galaxy evolution in terms of. So let's try to keep this fundamental. Now, here's a word in astrophysics that gets thrown around a lot. And one of the things I like about this conference is that we started off admitting the fact that we just totally use this word incorrectly all the time. The fundamental plane is the biggest misnomer ever, potentially. But real fundamental properties are things like specific angular momentum and mass, because they come from conservation laws. They transcend astrophysics. They're the sort of thing that real physicists should be thinking about. And I sincerely hope that everybody in this room considers himself a real physicist, so that these are legitimately fundamental properties. Right, so if you want to put all these pieces together, you end up coming up with Dark Sage, which is a semi-analytic model that I've developed. So what I've done is taken Sage and heavily modified this code, and I'm more interested in disks because they're prettier or something, I guess. So I've broken disks into a series of annuli. So instead of having one number to describe the cold mass and one number to describe the stellar content, you've got n of these things, and all the galaxy evolution processes go on within these annuli. And these annuli are fixed in terms of specific angular momentum. So it's a framework where explicitly local surface density and local specific angular momentum are the things controlling the evolution of galaxies. Now, there's a whole host of stuff, a whole host of processes that are included in this model. I don't have any time to talk about any of them in real specifics. You can just look at this picture and get a bit of a feel for some of that. Quickly highlight what's going on in disk instabilities. So, unfortunately, with a semi-analytic model, you need to have some explicit prescription that resolves when disks are unstable. And so the way this is done in this model is, okay, you can look at an annulus and say, is your two-ray Q value above or below 1? If it's below 1, you've got too much mass, you need to get rid of it. That galaxy has to redistribute that mass in some way, and so it will shift mass to adjacent annuli in a way that conserves angular momentum. Right, okay, so why is that? So we've got this model, right, that's dealing with mass and specific angular momentum locally. Why is that interesting? Because these two things are correlated on global scales as well, right? We've heard lots of people talk about this. And so one important question you could ask, which is the only important question that I have time to deal with, is can a model that is based on these properties locally tell you anything about why they're correlated globally? Okay, so now jumping into the results. So on the x-axis here, I've got stellar mass within disks of spiral galaxies from dark stage of redshift 0, and on the x-axis is the specific angular momentum of that stellar content. The coloured points are observations, the crosses of the line in the coloured region give you a sense for what the model is doing. Okay, so yeah, there's overlap, that's always good, but there's clearly some systematic deficit in terms of the angular momentum content. So, which is another way of saying it seems like this framework is putting too much mass in the low specific angular momentum annuli. So you can look at the surface density profiles, and I hope that people today can see this, and ask what are they like. And you find, shock horror, they're not exponential. Oh no, there's this cuspy thing going on in the middle. Now, I feel like there's this, we've got this mindset a lot, or a lot of people have this mindset that disks have to be exponential in terms of their surface density profile. And so if you were an observer and you looked at a galaxy that looked something similar that fitted one of these profiles, you see this cuspy bit that's rotating just like a disk would rotate. Whoops, you would call that a pseudo-bulge, right? I'm not really sure that this is a term that actually makes a lot of sense. Maybe we should be calling them pseudo-disks. But anyway, we've decided that doesn't count as part of a disk because it's not exponential, because we've decided that disks need to be exponential for some reason. Now, all these observed galaxies have pseudo-bulges, so you need to actually take that into account if you want to compare to the data fairly. But when you do that, lo and behold, it matches perfectly. So that's really nice. Now, pseudo-bulges are something that we think grow through disk instabilities, right? This is about transferring mass from the disk into the bulge. So this is kind of hinting that the disk instabilities have to be potentially the mechanism that are driving the mass-specific angular momentum relation. So we can look into that in more detail and say, okay, dark sage, you are no longer allowed to resolve disk instabilities. And he goes, because he's very wise, right? Once you switch that ability off, you get this deficit now in the specific angular momentum of all these disks. And this physically makes sense, because if you don't resolve disk instabilities, if you do resolve disk instabilities, we'll take it from this direction. You're taking mass out of the disk and putting it into the bulge, which means the points shift to the left, and you're also preferentially getting rid of the low specific angular momentum material, which means the points also shift up. And just to check that this is all consistent, you can look at the disks that are stable throughout their entire lifetime, whether or not instabilities are accounted for in the model, and they're always happy with the data. So whatever mechanism is driving disk instabilities is regulating this mass-specific angular momentum relation. Okay, what's really nice about models is that you can look back in time really easily, and so you can also ask the question of, is this a sequence that changes with time? So in the top left plot, you see the redshift evolution of the sequence going from about redshift 0.8 to redshift 0. And there is, well, the take-home message from this is galaxies spin up as time progresses. But if you don't allow disk instabilities to regulate the specific angular momentum of disks, yeah, take a drink every time I say the word disk. Instead of these things going from bottom to top, they go from left to right, so it's qualitatively in opposition to what you would expect. Cool, so I totally have time. So I can talk a little bit about eagles. So one of the things that I'm also involved in, which is a project being led by Claudia Lagos, we're also looking into the angular momentum evolution in eagle galaxies. So this is, you've heard about this cosmological hydrodynamic simulation, I hope. If you have, you've not been listening to any of these talks, and shame on you. But you see, at least qualitatively, the same sort of thing going on. So she's used a different color coding to me for some reason, but red is middle redshift. That doesn't make any sense to me, but regardless. maybe I'll use my co-authorability and suggest changing that. They're the same qualitative thing, right? So as time goes on, galaxies spin. Sweet, so conclusions. I'll let you read those, and we'll probably move on to questions, but I will also just do a second plug, which is myself, to say that, hey, all you people with money out there, you want to hire someone, you want to hire this guy. Okay? I'm just about to complete my thesis. Okay, so thank you.
Very good, thanks, Adam. Vladimir.
I didn't understand if the angular momentum of the halo is being conserved in the formation of the galaxy.
Yeah, so I mean, retrospectively, I could have spoken about that for a minute. So yes is the answer. I'll just quickly go back to that slide.
For all the galaxies, because in those that are merging, I think there is some answer.
So mergers are a whole kettle of fish that would take me like 3 minutes to talk about, and that would be a terrible description. And I don't have enough time to do that even now. So, but I can just quickly say that, so at each time there's cooling within the halo, it's assumed that the angular momentum is parallel to that of the halo at that time. And so then at the subsequent time step, when the angular momentum vector of that halo changes, which it does, Chiara showed how dynamic that quantity is, then you find changes in the direction of the angular momentum of the disk as well. So halo here, disk parallel, then later time, halo's over here, and then the angular momentum of the new stuff, which is in this direction, has to be summed with the stuff that's in this direction, and then usually the disk or something like that instead. So yes, the angular momentum of the halo is very important.
You can see a hand in the back.
Hey, so if you go back to your, I guess final result plot, it looks like even when you are resolving, you take care of the pseudo-bulges, you're resolving the disk instabilities and everything, you're still not quite matching the data at the low mass end?
So I have a legitimate explanation for this. So actually, I raised a point to someone else's talk about angular momentum earlier in this conference, saying that there's analysis in the Greshkoving Lathrop 2014 that says that the way in which the angular momentum of these galaxies is measured is approximate, right? They've not integrated out the surface density times the velocity curve of these galaxies. They're very approximate. They assume exponential disks. And actually, the points at this end, that paper just straight up says the points at this end should come down. So that, yeah.
There's no more questions, so let's thank Adam again.